All right, now we are abeam the Sepulveda Pass. Hang on. Yeah, okay. So now we are abeam the Sepulveda Pass on our way to Van Nuys Airport, which is one of the busiest airports in the world. Oh man, the Getty looks rough. Let's see if the Getty looks any better if we fly over it. And we're going to go see what the default Van Nuys Airport looks like. A huge part of this is the surrounding terrain. So we're going to grade Van Nuys based off of not only the airport itself, but also what it feels like to be on, to fly in and depart Van Nuys. This is one of the airports that was on my long cross-country, and it's a fantastic airport. It's really cool. It's actually not that great to fly in and out of general aviation-wise because it's not as pretty as you'd think. There's the Getty Museum, and that looks pretty rad. The path going to Van Nuys from the south, I usually will do the special flight rules transition over LAX, and then you basically parallel the Sepulveda Pass, which is this pass right here that the 405 goes through, and call up Van Nuys Tower, basically right over over Santa Monica, and we'll enter a downwind for 16 right, a right downwind for 16 right. Right away, there's a little bit of discoloration here on the ortho, the imagery here. These mountains are darker over here than they are across the Sepulveda Pass. So there's some weird seam going on here. And if we zoom in, yep. So if you zoom in here, you can tell where they're missing certain higher res data, where you have an actual line that on one side of it you've got auto-gen buildings, and on the other side you've got the real world, like, interpreted buildings. So there is an actual line right there. I've noticed this a few times, and I believe that it just stems from not having a high enough resolution satellite image to create the 3D buildings. So it has on here, it knows that there are buildings and houses up this canyon road, so they put some auto-genned buildings up there. And that's basically what X-Plane did just in general without the ortho, is just put in there based off of whatever data, auto-genned buildings. So that looks like we've found a tile where it was auto-genning. This looks like it's higher res, and you can see here it is a little bit lighter, and you have the 3D models of the buildings actually populating. So that's a little tiny bit distracting coming through there, at least at this altitude, which is a lot lower than you probably would be anyway. That looks amazing though. Beautiful, beautiful San Fernando Valley. And there is our lovely mistress right there, Van Nuys. And from here, it looks like it hasn't loaded in quite yet. We're going to be crossing the 101 freeway. That looks good. So that looks like it's another seam right there. Are those? Nope. Those are actually rendering. So that looks good. Yeah, the level of detail ring is not very wide right now, and that's probably a combination of my hardware and optimization of the sim. But if you look straight down, it looks friggin' awesome. Now this is not a review of this beautiful diamond, and I am not planning on we haven't even flown this thing that much, and we're already on is this asynchronous? What is happening here? Okay, so normal. Alright, so that's a little bit weird. But okay, we're going to enter a right downwind for 16 right, and already it's got a control tower in roughly the right spot. So that is better than most of the airports that we've looked at already, which is pretty fantastic. This is going to be a stop and go because we have a lot more runway to work with here. There's not really any easy way to get into Van Nuys GA. There's not a transient ramp. There's not a restaurant parking area. There are just a couple of FBOs, so it can be a little bit tricky if you want to get to the on-field, and it's not really on-field, but next-to-field restaurant, which is right there. Unbelievable view, and if you're in the valley and you want a good meal and an awesome view of some cool private jets flying in, the 94th Squadron is a great restaurant. This feels absolutely like approach to Van Nuys. That's awesome. Wow. Okay. That looks really good. So that is promising. Let's see how the actual airport fares. We've got the VOR, which is clearly visible from that clearing right there. And then there's also a train track that runs right in front of the runway. Probably won't see that. I don't know how they auto-gen railroads, but I doubt that we're going to see a train or even the potential for a train. But that's Van Nuys right there. That's crazy. Yeah, that looks pretty freaking cool. Again, from a little bit further back, I'm overshooting 1.6 right a little bit just to get a good shot of it. Yeah, they nailed the approach, and of course this is all procedurally generated, so nailing it really isn't giving them too much credit, but that looks a little rough. Those trees on short final there look a little bit rough. How's the restaurant look off the left? The restaurant is covered in trees, so that's a little bit weird. It actually has a tower. Dude, this little diamond is squirrely. Hold it off, hold it off. Man, we might have to full stop. Just a little light bounce. Alright, we could probably take off again from here, but that is a pretty decent shot of the tower. What's up, Sim Caesar? Happy, what day is it? What today? What is today? Tuesday? Happy little Wednesday. All right. So overall, the layout looks good. The restaurant, like I said, is covered in trees. I think that's just the auto-gen 3D stuff. Sometimes can't pick between trees and a building. That looks... Is my plane rolling away? No, okay. But yeah, that's the restaurant. So that's okay. I mean, it's not a great shot of it, but that's pretty good. Taxiways and runways all look pretty good. The run-up area on the other end here. Yeah, I don't understand no fences. Like, just automatic, even if it doesn't have a fence, just default to the airport having a fence around it. Yeah, I like the non-G1000 one as well. Like, I just don't understand why they can't put a fence around these things. That would help quite a bit. So we have some non-airport buildings here that are across the street. Again, not separated by a fence, which makes it look weird. But if you're passing through and not looking super hard, I do think that it could kind of do a pretty decent job of passing off as Van Nuys. Yeah, I think it is the TDI SimCaesar, yeah. And then here is Atlantic, and that's just barren. Which I don't, like, I'm not knocking it for that. Like, that's fine. If you don't have Atlantic in there, that's okay. You know, updates can do that, but like the no windows and just kind of making it, I don't know, it's just a little, I don't want to say lazy on the autogen, but it seems like they're just not even looking at some of these major airports or putting in, you know, like, what is this autogen building? Like, what is that? You know, obviously they're trying to mimic the hangars, but it's just like there's no door. So what are you trying to autogen with no door there? Those are at least hangars. No fence again. Looks really weird on something like this where it's just airport property and then you've got jaggedy land. One of my favorite airports in SoCal, and it's okay. Add a fence and update some of the autogens, and this is pretty good. I would give this actually the best grade so far. I'm gonna say this one is a C-. Add a fence, and I think this is pretty solid. Yeah, exactly, SimCaesar, and that's where we're going through, and some of them do an okay job based on what type of airport it is, but the overall what their algorithm is using to auto populate, I don't understand some of it. It doesn't seem like they belong anywhere near an airport. But overall, this airport is pretty good. The approach, and we'll see what the departure looks like, are all pretty solid. And I'm out of my cocktail. Yeah, we just came back from there. The actual airport management building looks terrible. It's like 3 stories too tall. This is the first control tower that I've seen besides John Wayne. Santa Monica, Torrance, Hawthorne, Fullerton, Long Beach, none of them have control towers. So, Overzone, how's it going? Very, very good. C-. You know what? That's fair, Overzone. That is fair. This is not compare, and this is on a like if we're grading this on a curve. This is actually one of the better ones. You're right. That was a very harsh grade. I will give it this a B-. A very, very, very respectable B-. It should be proud of that B-. Killa B 33Z, thank you very much for following. Welcome aboard. The airport, yeah. Well, they're not going to make too much money, I don't think, on any of the True Earth stuff or en route. But if they focus on airports and then just start cranking out even some like decent ones, if there was like a tiered level of airport, you know, gold, silver, bronze of varying details, I would love that. SimCaesar, the legendary SimCaesar, thank you so much for the subscription, sir. 2 months, you are the man. But yeah, I would take, like, you know, because I don't want like a $20 airport every time just to make something have a control tower. Like, give me an $8 Hawthorne that just has stuff in the right area and a fence around it. You know, it doesn't even have to be anything particularly groundbreaking, but just make it look like something. You know, the just lack of control tower and weird autogen does not cut it. Okay, so there's Van Nuys. What do we give it? A B minus. That's a pretty fair score, I think. A very generous score. Yeah, the GPP 500 level stuff would be good too. I don't know if you'd be able to charge as much if it looked that good, but yeah, just placement would be fine. If you were Microsoft, how would you triage airports? By traffic volume or put it to a poll? It seems like such an unimaginable task. Well, luckily, a lot of this, well, we're connected online. They know exactly what airports are being flown to. So they have the data. They know where people are flying, and they'd be able to prioritize strictly off of operations. So I don't think that would be the tricky part. I think it would be to what level, you know, how you pick, you know, which airports you spend a certain amount of time on, you know, to get to like an LAX level, or you know, which ones you just kind of touch up and be done with. You know, the Pilot Edge network, ZLA, I think is there is a market there for updating those airports where you're going to have a lot of Pilot Edge pilots that are going to want to update all of their you know, usual airports. So yeah, so would iSim Caesar, but I just mean in general, like if you're gonna the level of detail from those airports versus what the rest of the sim is doing, I don't know how easily it would translate over to this sim, because obviously he's using a lot of kind of libraried out assets that are not available in this yet, at least. So I don't know what they would translate into if they were just brought over. Like if you could take those 3D assets and stick them in here, how would those textures and everything look against all the lighting and everything in this sim? It might look great. It also might stick out like a sore thumb. So, but he has at least like what type of buildings need to be in which area down. So that seems to be a huge part of what's missing. So this is Whiteman, and it is not very far away from Burbank or Van Nuys. It's a strictly general aviation airport, so this is definitely not going to get any love anytime soon. But it is kind of a cool airport because of the proximity to the other very busy airports, and the terrain surrounding it is pretty cool. This little, I can't remember the name of this freeway, but that goes into Pasadena, and you have a really funky approach and departure here. I am going to just do a touch and go. This will actually be a touch and go this time, because nothing against Whiteman, but this is one of the few airports in this little tour we've done that I have not landed at. So you know, I have been here, but I haven't landed at it. But it's a very crazy approach that just brings you right over this street. I mean, these planes get really close to buildings here. The control tower is on the right-hand side in that gray little patch where there is nothing. That looks pretty cool. But part of the unique thing procedurally out of Whiteman is the 4 stacks departure, which takes you over 4 chimney stacks on your way to Burbank. And I want to see if that is there. So there is not a lot of world objects here. That parking area to the left is just filled with small planes. Again, no control tower. Control tower would be right there to the right. This thing we'll nose it in there. Yeah, that is pretty weak, but also not bad. I would actually give that a relatively decent grade. You put a fence there, and because of the type of airport that is, I give that like a C plus. Not as good as Van Nuys, but that was a C plus. And there are the 4 stacks. So check that out. It actually has the 4 stacks. How cool is that? That looks really good. Okay. No, not Flaybob. No, we started at John Wayne. We did the like counterclockwise route. We might have to save. We might not get to Flaybob tonight. That looks pretty good. There's a little dam over there. Yeah, that looks awesome. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is pretty freaking phenomenal. So now we're set up pretty much for a tight left base for runway 8 at Burbank. Start pulling the power back, see if this thing will stop flying. Like yells at you for being too slow, and then it just stops. It doesn't stop flying until you're way too slow. The stacks don't appear until after your left turn. Bummer. That might be a settings thing as well, and just get the level of detail to come out a little bit further, but we'll see once the new crop of GPUs starts coming in. All right, so the runway 8 arrival into Burbank is pretty cool. Again, you're flying over a lot of buildings. There's some power lines pretty low as well. But a really cool view of the surrounding terrain with the mountains in the background. And Burbank is just an awesome airport. Sorry, it appears like the stream was chugging there a little bit. But yeah, awesome airport to come into. It's really, really pretty, and it's also quiet. There's no real general aviation presence except for jackasses like me on the ILS into runway 8. So there's not a lot of action other than a constant stream of 737s coming in, which is most would consider probably pretty busy. Frames are dropping a lot. I don't think the scenery loaded in nicely. Oh yeah, Burbank is having trouble loading in. Oh. Made the landing better at least. Why is it so bad? Let's let it load in here for a second. Let's see, will the X-plane trick work? If I spin it around. Let's see. Nope, it's still not running that well. There it's starting to pick up a little bit. Departing runway 8 or runway 15, there is a big optical illusion of the mountains on either side. It looks like you're taking off into the mountains. As soon as you rotate, though, you realize that you're not really that close to them at all. We've already checked out the Burbank scenery. Glad I had the flaps up that whole time. So I'm not going to... hello. That's what happens when you put the flaps up when you're not going fast enough. So we're not going to go over the Burbank scenery. It's obviously Orbix, so it looks fantastic. But that's the Inland not the Inland Empire, geez. that is the San Fernando Valley trio of airports. Overall, it's probably better than any of the basin kind of clusters. Obviously, the Burbank scenery is Orbix, so that has a very unfair advantage there. But Whiteman was not too bad, and Van Nuys was not too bad. There's not much to look at in terms of scenic landmarks in the valley other than those 3 airports, but you know, the surrounding terrain looks awesome. Santa Barbara to Van Nuys, I suddenly 15 frames after crossing the threshold at Burbank, but I have the Orbix scenery. I don't know if that's an Orbix thing or an MS thing. If I reload the exact same spot, my FPS magically go up to 50. Yeah, I loaded up at Burbank when we checked out Burbank, and it was fine. Now it's like really bad. Let's hope that that is some sort of Microsoft thing that will be updated out. Yes, I will definitely be upgrading my GPU. I have no idea to which one yet, but I definitely will be upgrading. Heading and altitude. Okay. I'm gonna leave Mr. Diamond there. Yeah, the San Fernando Valley is a very, very interesting place. It's not known for its beauty, but it does have some cool stuff. So it's nice to see that it is pictured or depicted well by the simulator without too many issues or too many things that are out of date based on old data. So that is really nice. Burbank, we've got a scenery for Burbank. Hopefully with some optimization we get a little bit better performance out of it, frame rate wise. But I think overall that's a good start. So that is the San Fernando Valley airports. I give Burbank a minus. Whiteman, what do we give Whiteman? We'll just make up new B minus. Did I give it a B minus or something, or a C plus? C plus, and then B minus for Van Nuys, or whatever it was. I can't remember. Whatever my original grades were is what I give them. So there it is. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. That was fun to go through those. We didn't make. It took a lot longer to get through those than I was hoping. So we have a lot left to check out for next time. But it is fun to check these airports out. So we did John Wayne, Fullerton, Long Beach, Torrance, Hawthorne, LAX, Santa Monica, Van Nuys, Whiteman, and Burbank. So that is a lot of airports to check out. Not really that impressed with most of them, but the scenery in general, as this thing gets optimized, I think it'll run better. Once we get some good pay-where planes, it'll feel better. Everything will just slowly get better and better as we go. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about that. Oh, and now it's time for a cocktail and dinner. And I'm going to land at Van Nuys. So if you're new here as well, thank you for joining. Thank you for giving aviation a shot as well. I'm really excited to see how this opens up aviation to a new crop of people. Hopefully it continues. The first week, the numbers from Steam and Twitch were pretty crazy. They have dropped off pretty significantly. Yeah, I'm dying for Pilot Edge, man. Yeah, I'm dying for Pilot Edge. I may even very shortly just fire up X-Plane and do a couple of flights. Planning on real-world flights, possibly even to Santa Barbara in real life for the first time this weekend. So it would be nice to do a little test out on Pilot Edge before going for realsies. These planes just feel like such garbage. Boom. Okay. The sound effects are awesome though. Hazareth, thank you very much for following. Welcome aboard. I've been secretly running X-Plane. That's awesome. My non-aviation friends already seem to lose interest. It's not surprising. Yeah, it's not surprising. When you think of just the cycle for most games, you know, especially a new IP for somebody, if it's not, you know, Call of Duty 109, look at that free castering nose wheel. That's pretty funny. You know, if it's not some Call of Duty game that you're you're going to dump in a certain amount of hours on, you know, you fly around for a little bit and then kind of lose interest. It's not surprising, but we went from like 60,000 viewers on Twitch on the first couple of days, and now we're down to a couple of thousand. So back into kind of general flight sim interest levels, but on like the best day. So it's still holding pretty steady at higher numbers, which is great. So like to see that, and we'll just keep it going. So hopefully it can sustain it. Hopefully these updates continue to keep people that are kind of on the fence or not really into it with all the bugs, and you know, we'll get all of our gaming. I can't see that. I need to change that font. I don't even know. Gaming. Oh, gaming ethnic non. There you go. That's the right order that those letters should appear. It is more likely that 2020 will attract new people to games rather than the other way around. It is more likely that will attract new people to games. I don't know exactly what you mean by that, but it has obviously attracted people to flight simulators that haven't, that have either been missing for a while, or that have never been introduced to it. It's just not as fleshed out enough to keep people hooked. But hopefully we get some people that are interested in aviation in general. So if we have like a uptick in flight school signups or something like that can be traced back to this launch, that would be great. But it's just too rough right now. Oh, aviation people discovering Twitch. Got it. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't think there were 40 to 60,000 aviation people that were all of a sudden logging onto Twitch. It was the hot new game at the time, and people wanted to check it out. So I think that also probably gave a little bit of a different idea of what it can be, you know, with everyone flying around like this. Not really a good representation of, you know, aviation in general, you know, with the heads-up display. So we need Pilot Edge, we need VATSIM, we need some payware planes, we need some of these airports to be fixed, we need some for-flight support, we need, what else do we need? I mean, that really might be it. So once we get those things, then we'll be fine. Which I know are coming. Like, it is definitely coming at some point. So, all right, guys, that's enough rambling to end this for now. Thank you guys all very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing and following and all that stuff. This is the Discord. If you are new here, follow along and you know, stay engaged with the aviation stuff. I said you can't dig it. Thank you very much for joining the Discord as well. It's a good way to stay engaged with the aviation community and start to learn things, and as the sim matures, you can gain more knowledge to stay up with how to make some of this stuff work. that are a little bit more true to aviation than it currently is. It's still a ton of fun. I'm having a blast, but doing a little bit more of these real world flights start to let it down a little bit. Boeing 737-8, thank you. Xenix Phoenix, thank you very much for the follow as well. Guys, thank you. We'll see you in the Discord, and also on Thursday we'll finish the rest of this beautiful tour on Thursday. So thanks, and tell Chili that I said hello. Chili was the very first person that I had in my live stream ever, the first person that ever chatted. So tell Chili that I said hi, and have fun flying around with him. Have a great night, guys. See ya!